So one, rapid domain analysis. We are known at DomainTools for having the freshest domain and DNS data, the best kind of global view of what's going on in domain and DNS at any given moment. So we could put this to the test. I gave it just a singular domain that was picked up yesterday, a phishing domain. It was steamguard-powered.com, nice and defanged there. And I said, hey, just use all of the skills and tooling available. I will say, for full transparency, we do have a skill loaded in on the coming through, like working alongside this stuff. It's built off of publicly available data from DomainTools. There's nothing particularly like special about it, where I'd be happy to share things about it with folks. But I found it useful for getting it to produce the more repeatable outputs, or outputs that were more aligned with the goals that I was looking for. I think, for folks that'll be using this, it's highly likely that folks will have their own .md, their own flat files loaded in that have knowledge of their supply chain, of their organization, right? So that when the inference engines are looking at our data and looking at your environment and what the crown jewels are, what's important to you, that it can more readily highlight the bits of data from domain tools that are going to be relevant for you. So in this case, it just fired up the skill. It started pulling off queries against the registration activity, and then it started pulling reverse pivots. I gave it one domain, but it picked up that there was some registration activity going on that were tied to the search criteria on it. And, it then went and built an Iris QL query for me to target the Cloudflare name server pair that the threat actor used on that initial registration. Also pulled in, domains that were tied to the registrant email server, which was very interesting, and decided to kind of pull me a nice little report. And it gave me some information on the domain that I was interested in, risk score information. Hey, super high risk domain, registered yesterday. It's part of a its words, not mine, industrial scale phishing campaign targeting Steam gaming platform users. Again, I gave it as like as a minimal input as possible to work with, in like when we put these things into more discrete workflows, your prompts are going to be more complex. The amount of context that it has available that's relevant to your organization will be more complex. So these are more of a starting point, right? But it looked at the typo squatting, the hyphenated domain. It's brand new. It doesn't like our risk score, and said, hey, this one, I don't like it.